Back in the application here, let's say I add a new transition down here, and to fix this problem we had before, where we do have different durations here in our slide class, I will switch this to 1 second in both cases so that it is fixed even without us setting the type explicitly. So now I do have my new div here, my new transition, and now I want to toggle, or I want to switch between two divs. I have my info alert and I have my warning alert, let's say. So this is some warning. Now, of course, like this, it wouldn't work if they both have the same condition, like here. So here, we definitely want to reverse these conditions so that only one of the two elements is shown. Now, important, this will not work with vShow. Here we have to use vIf. Of course, we could also use vIf and vElse and then remove this one, so this second condition. So both will work. vIf with reversed conditions or vIf and vElse. vShow will not work. Important. So now with this setup, if I reload my application and we hit show alert, well, we don't really see a fade animation here. We just see this instant popping between both. And the reason for this is that when using the same element twice, as we do here with div, but it would be the case for any element, Vue.js is not able to differentiate the two. For Vue.js, it's the same, so it only swaps the content. It's not able to really swap the elements themselves, which would be needed to attach the classes correctly. Therefore, we have to key them. We have to add this key property attribute here, which is an attribute not available by default, but recognized by Vue.js, to give each div or each element here in general a unique key. Now, that unique key here could simply be info for the first div and then warning for the second. That's enough. The important thing is just that they are, well, that they differ and that they are unique. Now with this in place, if we save this, yeah, now you see, at least we get some fading going on. But what's really ugly is that they jump like this. So the new one gets animated in before the old one was removed from the DOM. This is why we have this extra line and then have it snap up once the space is there. Well, that is really not beautiful. Really not what we want here. Now, how can we fix that? This issue stems from the default behavior transition has. It is not really an issue. If you were to have these these elements placed with position absolute, for example, they would lie on top of each other and you would maybe get the desired result. But like here, when you have the documents or the elements, really positioned beneath each other, that's not looking great. We can override this default mode Vue.js uses here. And again, as everything, you can dynamically bind this with a colon. Here I will hard code it though. You have two modes to choose from. You can use out-in and in-out. Now out-in means let the old element animate out first and then animate in the new one, and in-out does the opposite. So with mode out-in set now, if I reload this, we should see that this bottom div now first fades out before the new one fades in. And that's actually what we see. Now the jumping still occurs because we got 3 other divs which get removed, but we see that this div really does animate out before then animating in. And that looks much, much nicer than the other case. Again, ignore the jumping, which stems from the other divs on this page. This div here animates fine. It waits for the old one to be removed before it animates in the new one. So with key and mode, we make sure that we get the transition between two elements we want to get. Now, of course, all the other things you learned applies just as well here for these transitions between two elements. Just make sure to use vIf and vElse or vIf multiple times with different conditions so that in the end, only one element is visible on the page. This is important, and vShow won't work. And with that, we really learned a lot about the transitioning of one element or of two elements. Now I want to wrap up these basics about this transition component here by having a look at how we can use JavaScript to animate everything instead of CSS.